Hi, welcome to Wonder Wander Homeschool. My name is Shauna and I am doing an update because I had a few requests about the Reading and Spelling Through Literature book 2. Excuse the mess in the homeschool. We had a storm last night and had to move some stuff over, so to pull that away from the wall. So everything's a little bit all over the place. But I wanted to go over this because this is something that has been kind of untouched. We've looked at the phonograms on it that you're supposed to do the first 3 weeks, and I did make flashcards. But we just didn't really get into reviewing them that often. She knew most of them. And then so she's pretty good at knowing her phonograms. The hard part is when you get to the reading, which is what I wanted to do. And I want to do it for a spelling list too, which I just have not had the time in our homeschool day. It has just not felt like it fit. I think the spelling would be great though. I do still recommend it for that, but I just don't know if this fits our homeschool for the reading part, which is a big reason why I wanted her to do it. Spelling's great, but I really wanted her help get into these kind of books. So this is one of the first stories that you read, which she can read, but she would take, just because the size, she has some anxiety when it comes to reading. So she would get a little nervous even reading this. So what we've been doing has been using Little Bear books and see how the difference of size, like for some reason, this part she can handle and she doesn't get too nervous about. And even though they do all of the different asterisks and the different syllable lines and phonograms, it's just a little bit too much for her visually. I think it was actually distracting for her. So it's just something that much, even though it's only a page for one and then like the half page for the other end of the story, that would be like a week's, I think that's the week's lesson, because you're supposed to do the words, write them out, and then that would be 76B would be this part to read. And then they should read the whole story. And I would love for her to get to a point where she can read like this, but because she does struggle, I don't feel like this does the fundamentals for her, which is kind of sad, kind of disappointing. I wish that it did. I think it's just the type of learner that she is, and because she did get pushed a little too hard in reading before, when she sees a lot for her of this size, it's a little overwhelming. So we're going to keep working on that. I think I will eventually come back to reading these stories, just as readers, as she gets a little bit more confident. So some of them are super short, some are longer, and I might come back for the spelling list. The spelling list seems really awesome, that you just have them go and practice them every week. She has been doing the copy work, but we just have not been able to have time in our day to do this. So this might be something I come back to for the spelling words. But I just don't feel like the reading practice for us has been a great fit. So the reading practice I'm going to save for later. So it's not a complete wash for the curriculum, but it just doesn't fit in the flow of our homeschool day. And the spelling, I just have to get more committed on actually having her do that. And that's something I'm kind of struggling with right now, trying to teach all 3 of them. So this for me is a halfway miss, halfway really good. It has a lot of good ideas in it. It has a lot of, if you need a spelling list, it's really great to have it there. They all kind of go together in teaching, and they have a little bit of a grammar lesson there too. But she does have a grammar lesson, even though it's very short, in the English Lessons Through Literature, which is the same company, but it's the language arts. So what I've been doing with this is they had said to go through the poems and memorize them. So like this is our little, the poem that we're working on right now is The Months of the Year by Sarah Coleridge. So we've been working on that. Before that, we had a couple others. The really long ones I'll just read. Some of them are a little too long to try to memorize at her age, but like ones like The Rain, and there's the sheep one. And so you're kind of going through and having them, the whole duty of children, we memorize that one too. And you're supposed to basically review them, I think once every 3 weeks, once it's memorized, and review it once a week until it's memorized, every day. So those ones, we're now at the point where we're memorizing this one because it's a fun month-long, months of the year poem. So this one I think is worth, even though it's a very long one, to have her memorize the whole thing. So we're just going to work on that for a while. But yeah, so I've been kind of keeping track. We went through the Wonderful Wizard of Oz, which is a wonderful, wonderful read no matter what. And then we went on to, where are we at right now? Let me see if I can find it. There you go. So we are at lesson 28. So we're going to be doing addresses. We did abbreviations, and then they have a list of all of the state abbreviations. Since they don't really make the same sense as normal abbreviations, it talks about that. Very short little grammar lesson, not long at all. We've been reading the Blue Fairy book. They've got some really great. We got halfway through Beauty and the Beast. That one was one that's going to take another day to finish because it's just a very long story. But we did the East of the Sun and West of the Moon yesterday, and she loved it. There is no video on this one, but there is for a lot of the other ones because they're Brothers Grimm. A lot of them are Brothers Grimm fairy tales. So the Snow White and Rose Red, there's one that actually just brought back so much nostalgia because that's what I would, at this very house, because we're at my grandparents', I would come and my grandma had a VHS of all of these Grimm's fairy tales, and now it's on YouTube. So I found it. So if you look up the Grimm's fairy tales of Snow White and Rose Red, it kind of looks somewhat anime. It's really cute. It's a really cute, sweet story. And then there's a whole list of like 40 other ones that I keep on looking back on to see if that would work for these future ones. I'm sure Little Red Riding Hood is probably there. I don't know if Beauty and the Beast is. But yeah, it's nice to see the differences that they have from the Grimm's fairy tales, from the ones that we know from Disney, and, to kind of see where they actually came from. For me, since I've never read through all of the Grimm fairy tales before. But yeah, so I've been really loving this. It's nice. It's a very gentle curriculum for her because it's teaching her. It's really repetitive we were doing proper nouns for a few lessons. We were doing pronouns for a few lessons, and it'll just have you keep on saying a pronoun is. It has the definition right there. And then they'll have some practice. And then I'll have you read through in your workbook, which I haven't had her do the exercise in her workbook. I've just kind of gone over it because since she isn't as strong as reading yet, I've been reading out loud and having her tell me where she hears the noun and where she hears the verb. And I think sometimes pronoun if they have that. And they also talk about the antecedent. They've been teaching that as well. And then they have copywork. The copywork you can do here. This is an older version, but I actually have her copywork book, which the workbook I highly recommend because it gives you can do it in italics, you can do it in cursive, and you can do it in print, which this is the print one. So she's been doing it where, I do take out the page when it's on the curve, so it's easier for her. But it'll have a quote from what we were reading. So this one's from Rumpelstiltskin, I believe. And then she just copies it. And so it's really helping her just understand the periods and quotes, making sure she's just practicing her letters. I've noticed she hasn't. She has not been mixing up her B's and D's as much now that she's been copying. I think just the repetition of seeing it has been great. There's also on every other page, pretty much, there's a quote from what you're reading in the story. The first quarter of it, or, first maybe quarter of the book. When we're on the Wizard of Oz, it's quotes from the Wizard of Oz, and then I was having her colored in, which I can show you that, I think. So like this one is, so she told him about Kansas and how gray everything was there and how the cyclone had carried her to this queer land of Oz. And there's her picture of her telling Glinda. And then, what does she have there? Let me see if I can find one that was the fairy tales. This is the months of the year poem that we're practicing. And that was one of the lessons. And so I had her draw what her favorite part was from it. We haven't gone through all of them, but she has been very good at doing the copy work first thing in the morning. So this is part of the copy work too that they usually have you do for the activity. So you can go through this piece. It's usually the same one as the copy work for the picture. And so then they'll have you do underline and the nouns. That was for the proper nouns. They did initials on that one for the activity too. This helps her with spacing. And this was a narration on this next page, which every once in a while they have a narration where you talk and then you have them tell you and you write down the narration for them. And then she drew a picture of it. This was the boy with the filberts. And let me see if she did one for fairy tales yet. Because I'm trying to catch up because she was doing a while of, I've had some busier days where she's done the copy work and I haven't really gotten to check it for her doing the pictures. So if I don't tell her to do the pictures, she doesn't do them, which is fine because I don't expect her to know. So I'm going through, and since even though it's still on Wizard of Oz here, I'll probably have her go back and do them. But like this one was her doing her picture of Rose Red and Snow White. So that was her picture of him turning into a prince, and them all falling in love. Yeah, and so then this was the her talking to the north wind. So she's basically very well then to the north wind, but you must sleep here tonight. And that's what her talking. She was really pretty, so she drew that. So yeah, it's really a nice flow for her for this book. Everything about it feels like she is growing in her skills. I feel like she's definitely growing in her reading, slowly her confidence through reading books like the little booklets like the Little Bear and Friends, these icon reads. Some of them have multiple stories in them, so it's nice because then it's not overtaxing her time and her patience level when it comes to her getting frustrated working through new words that she might not know, and sounding out words that she should know and has to work on. But yeah, I mean, so far I'm really in love with this for her learning style. I'm sure you could do more rigorous. I know Good and the Beautiful is wonderful, but for her, until she is really much firmer in her reading, I'm going to stay away from Good and the Beautiful because that one is a lot of you learn it, you practice it, and then you move on, which is a good thing. It worked really well for my now 4th grader. She's an excellent reader. I feel like it did a very good job of transitioning them into reading on their own. So I look forward to hopefully doing it for 3rd grade because I love the 3rd grade Good and the Beautiful. But this is something that is really nice to have when maybe Good and the Beautiful doesn't work as well. So I'm really loving that. I think I will still give this a chance. That's my update on this. Because I honestly, just with our homeschool, it feels like she's been getting a lot with the copy work and the reading of the stories and read alouds and memorizing poems, math, history, and science. Science has been, it's supposed to be fall, so we should have a lot of leaves to go and pick up, but the weather has been in the 80s. We had a thunderstorm last night, which just never happens. So we've been doing, she's had a pretty full load of work, and I feel like it would be overtaxing if I'd added one more thing. But now that school's been going for a while, I could probably re-add the spelling list for her to practice, because her copy work has gotten a lot stronger. It doesn't seem like she's as tired afterwards either, so that's good. But yeah, so that is my update on reading and spelling through literature and the English lessons through literature book level 2. Highly recommend it. Still, I think this one, if you're doing it to try to make your daughter or son a better, stronger reader, I think the phonograms are great because that you could do all the time, the flashcards. But I feel like we haven't personally been applying it as much. It just hasn't been as helpful as I was hoping. I was hoping the reading would be a little bit more, oh, she's got this and she can just read through and get more confident. But the stories are a little bit too small print, I think, is what gets her. And I feel like she just thinks all of the different asterisks and syllables and split ups, it was almost too much, too busy for her eyes to look at. I think she does need something still that is the simple, where it doesn't have everything done for you, where you're just reading like in a book, and it helps her transition to, real books too. It will definitely help her with that, because you have to kind of figure that out before you having it all broken up like this. I think could be really good. It's just a lot I'm also teaching 3 kids right now, so I feel like as a one-on-one tutoring thing, that could be great. So I would say definitely, though, for the spelling, I think that would be a great place to look for spelling work, because it is spelled out really well. And it's just a matter of just getting her to do it practicing it every day in her notebook. So that's on me for that part. But yeah, so hopefully that helps you with your updates on how the school year is going for that. Yeah, and like I said, math is going great. It's just math with confidence been doing great. And then history, we're kind of talking about the Jamestown right now, through School of Smiths, Little School of Smiths. And so it's a lot more, we read a book and we maybe do a craft and talk about what's going on, maybe look at a map. It's not very intensive, but I also wanted to cover 2nd and 4th grade together. So we're not in what California's 4th grade would be doing right now, or what California's 2nd grade would be doing. But since we did ancient history for like 2 years in a row, I was moving to the United States start, so they know how it started, and then we'll go into California, hopefully next year. And then then probably go into the middle, when they get into middle school, going into more like the medieval times, like the Middle times in like European history. It's just, there's so much war and battle that I wasn't ready for that. So, but yeah, so for her, it's been very good. Hopefully science will be a better update later. I will have to do a video on that. It's very gentle, almost too much so, but it's also a nature study. It's the first time of me doing that. And I don't know, it seems almost too simple. I need a little bit more of a schedule myself, so that it's not just like, oh, let's do this activity and then that's your science for the day. So it definitely is probably fine. But for me, I do really love like master books, how they have a science they have a science experiment like once a week, and then they have a science lesson. So I might be looking for some more curriculum on that soon, but at least for the fall, I'm going to try this one and give it a go. And yeah, I'll update you guys later. So I hope you guys are having a great school week, and happy fall.